Hack and slash is not the most complex genre of video games, but for some reason ends up being one of the more satisfying to play. And this year's crop, pretty good. Today, gameranx brings you the top 10 hack and slash games of 2016. Number 10, Black Desert Online is a massively multiplayer online game that builds on some of the good ideas had in Prince of Persia and Assassin's Creed, including a parkour system and employing a movement system reminiscent of third-person shooters. Its employment of a hack and slash control scheme makes it quite different from other MMORPGs, especially the more popular ones, and provides a unique experience with extremely customizable characters. It's huge, it handles very well, and it will suck you right in. Number 9, Furi, which plays as kind of a throwback to a certain aesthetic. We have other games that actually touch on it as well, but we'll talk about that later. But Furi kind of plays as an arena-based take on this idea, as well as incorporates a lot of shooter elements to it. In fact, it's sort of a hybrid between a beat 'em up and a shoot 'em up. And although it doesn't get too into it, can get bullet hell-like for a while sometimes. I'll say you're generally taking on a smaller amount of opponents, or oftentimes even a single opponent, so you're not necessarily dodging things from all angles per se. But the music, the sound effects, the art style, and especially the animation, I really like about this game. It's a simple enough game to pick up, and it gives me that 80s nostalgia that a lot of games try to do, but get too bogged down in being completely authentic to provide an experience that is actually enjoyable. Furi is absolutely enjoyable. Number 8, Necropolis, which actually comes off as kind of Journey-like in its aesthetic, but the game couldn't be further from Journey in style, providing a dungeon crawling experience. They've created a really good algorithm that makes randomized levels that come off as well designed, and the co-op in this game is absolutely wonderful. It's light on story and essentially comes off as a roguelike. The game initially had kind of a so-so launch, but an update provided a lot more content as well as more classes and stabilized some things. And in truth, this is a very unique game that comes off as very familiar. And I mean that in the best possible way. Number 7, God Eater 2 Rage Burst is an enhanced version of the original God Eater 2 that got re-released on both PlayStation Vita and released for the first time on PlayStation 4. This game pretty much nails exactly what you would want from a Japanese hack and slash game, and somehow manages to bring me back personally to the early 2000s era of video games, and that's a kind of nostalgia I don't really get to feel that often. Coupling that with how fluid the game plays and how good the game looks for a game that came from the PS Vita to an actual full-blown console, and there's not really a lot to complain about. Maybe not the most original game of all time, but still. Number 6, Monster Hunter Generations, which is a continuation of the obvious Monster Hunter series. There aren't really any massive changes in gameplay. You kind of know what Monster Hunter is at this point. At least veterans will. If you're not, it's essentially a hack and slash kind of Pokemon style game, and there's a multiplayer element that lets you play along with friends, as well as an upgraded special move system called the Hunting Arts. Essentially, it's a charge-up system, but it fits in really good with the style of combat. Monster Hunter is focusing on defeating monsters rather than acquiring them like Pokemon, and it's also a lot more action-focused, whereas Pokemon has always traditionally been turn-based. But for the multiplayer alone, any new Monster Hunter game is always a development over the last. There's always more content, and it's always better. They've managed to do that throughout the whole series, and that makes the latest entry definitely worth your time. Number 5, Grim Dawn is a game that plays a very, very large amount of tribute to Diablo, but it does it so well with so much polish that in some ways actually outshines Diablo 3. Now, its strength is also kind of its weakness. It really does seem like a Diablo game in basically every way, despite the fact that in some ways it actually out-Diablos Diablo. It really depends on how you look at things. If you can stand that it's a little bit derivative and for a while can get a little bit repetitive as far as I'm concerned, if you like Diablo 2, you will like Grim Dawn. Period. Number 4, Hyper Light Drifter is a game that takes advantage of the same kind of aesthetic I mentioned with Furi, although it does take the pixel art route. And while we've seen about 1 billion pixel art games the last few years, Hyper Light Drifter is indeed one of the most beautiful. On top of that, the gameplay for this is really, really tight. Its design is superb, with wonderful sound effects, and the Disaster Piece soundtrack, this is one of those games that proves Kickstarter can really be used for good, despite sometimes it falling through really bad, like Mighty Number 9. Fortunately, this came out wonderful. Number 3, Attack on Titan is such a fluid take on the idea of Attack on Titan. Now, the first time I saw that anime, my thought was this would be a fantastic video game. And up until now, they really haven't fulfilled that potential under my understanding. I haven't played any Japanese games, but I've read reviews of them, and I understand why some of them didn't get brought over here. That changes with this version of the idea, which has really created an interesting form of gameplay. Now, it's hack and slash at the core, but the mechanics are complex with the fact that you're fighting against giants and have this really cool apparatus attached to you that allows you to swing around like Spider-Man, albeit with some different characteristics. Attack on Titan is faithful to the anime, it's fast-paced, it's interesting, and it will keep your attention. The graphics may be a tiny bit generic anime game, but it does faithfully retain the look of the series, so on the other hand, is it really the worst thing in the world? I don't think so, especially considering how fun the damn game actually is. Number 2, Dark Souls 3, which what are you going to say about this game that people don't know? It's Dark Souls 3. Possibly the best looking game I've ever seen that has such a grim and desolate color palette. It has such an interesting depth in different monsters that you end up fighting, some of them massive, some of them small. Dark Souls 3 retains the difficulty of its predecessors, although perhaps tempered just a tiny bit, and also incorporates elements from Bloodborne, which, by the way, is also phenomenal. The very slight streamlining of the combat that it brings in from Bloodborne adds a lot to Dark Souls 3, which would have been a great game even if it hadn't really developed on the mechanics from Dark Souls 2. From Software makes quality titles, and there's really not anything to complain about. Dark Souls 3 encapsulates what Dark Souls is, and fans of hack and slash or action RPGs always need to check out Dark Souls. Period. And finally, number 1, The Witcher Blood and Wine. Oh, you didn't think I was gonna pass on an opportunity to talk about The Witcher again, did you? Blood and Wine was as good an experience as the full original Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, except for it added a thick layer of parody onto it as well. But aside from that, it maintained the same very, very good gameplay, which is based in hack and slash. It's a little bit more complex, but not unrecognizable or anything like that. It's kind of like deep hack and slash 2.0, so to speak. If you've listened to me talk about The Witcher 3, you know I love it. Blood and Wine is another fantastic example of a rich combat system that's basically built on top of hack and slash. But being it's The Witcher, it gives you so much more. It gives you a culture to learn about, it gives you a location to learn about, it gives you so many interesting characters to interact with, and just in every sense of the word, Blood and Wine, as an addition to the original game, is perfect. Couple of bonus games for you. First one is going to be Hyrule Warriors being released for 3DS. If you're a fan of the Warriors games and Zelda, it's a no-brainer. In all seriousness, I think probably one of the better Warriors games, and I enjoyed it a lot. And Vulcan Lords of Mayhem, which is a 3D but isometric positioned camera style action RPG hack and slash mashup that's absolutely gorgeous and manages to be one of the more fun CryEngine games, in my opinion. What were your favorite hack and slash this year? There were a million hack and slash games that came out this year, so there's quite a few to choose from. If we didn't mention it, feel free to. As always, we're interested. And if you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this one. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.